we might get started as 6 o'clock has come round. So, good evening and welcome to the Master of Teaching Information evening. My name is Cameron and I work for the Future Students team at UNSW. And further, I am a representative of the Arts, Design and Architecture faculty in this role. So, just before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Bedigal people, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which UNSW Kensington campus stands. I would also like to pay my respects to the elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who may be joining us today. Before we dive into the Master of Teaching itself, I would like to give you a brief insight into what UNSW offers. So UNSW is ranked among the top 20 global universities, and we have held this ranking for 2 years in a row. This reflects our exceptional teaching, outstanding research, and social impact. We have over 300 degrees to choose from, which enables students to explore their passion and interest while on the path to finding their dream career. We are also very proud to have Australia's most employable students, according to the Australian Financial Review, and this is due to our commitment to foster job-ready graduates through our fantastic employability programs and initiatives. In the Arts, Design and Architecture faculty itself, our programs are designed to cultivate both creativity and critical thinking, equipping students with skills that are highly valued in the workplace by emphasising innovative problem solving and analytical skills. We prepare graduates to excel in dynamic professional environments. Our strong industry connections further enhance this preparation, providing students with real-world experience and networking opportunities, something that we'll be hearing a bit more about over the course of this evening. So I'll now quickly run through the agenda for our information session this evening. To begin with, our program directors for both the Master of Teaching Primary and the Master of Teaching Secondary will provide an overview of their programs and touch on a few of the key facets of the degrees. Our fantastic program advisor, Natalia, will then run through important information to keep in mind when considering what it is that you need in order to apply for entry and the application process itself. Following this, our program director for the School of Education Riverina will provide some insight into the great opportunities that exist within this rural offering and what you need to consider when applying. Next, we are very lucky to be joined by a student currently studying within our Master of Teaching Primary, as well as an alumni of the Master of Teaching Secondary. And they'll be sharing some insights into studying at UNSW within these programs and highlighting some of the things that really helped them during their studies. So finally, we will be taking some time to answer as many questions as we can that you, the audience, might have regarding what it is like to study our Master of Teaching degrees here at UNSW. And so I would encourage you to submit any questions you do have in the chat section of this webinar, and we will look to provide as many answers as possible in our panelist Q&A. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Geraldine, our program director for the Master of Teaching Secondary.
Thank you very much, Cameron, and welcome everyone. It's a great pleasure to be able to talk to you about our programs this evening for what is one of the most rewarding professions in the world, and really getting a Master of Teaching, particularly from UNSW, has excellent national and global reach for future employment opportunities. So I'd like to take you through my program, which is the Master of Teaching Secondary. Thank you, Cameron. So the key information around this is that the program always starts in term 1, and depending on how quickly you would like to get through the program, you have the option of completing it in 1 year and 1 term, or 1.3 years, or you can extend it out further. It is already accredited with our New South Wales accreditation, teacher accreditation body, but it has been accredited across Australia. And you will have hands-on learning experience in schools for up to 80 days during your program experience. Thank you. So this would normally be a 2-year program, but we have provided the opportunity for you to accelerate the program. The benefit of this is you can be through it and out and working and earning much quicker time. The other benefit is that you can teach in schools after 1 year equivalent of full-time study. So as I said before, it's uniquely designed. It provides nationally accredited teaching qualifications, and it is recognized interstate and globally as well. So why study with us? Well, It's great to be able to join a course where you feel you've got opportunities to not just work with academics and specialists within the field, but also work with current practicing teachers who have they could be early career teachers or long-standing teachers with a great deal of experience across the world, but particularly within Australia. It's a really great opportunity to accelerate your learning and finish a degree and be out working and be accredited within 1 year and 1 term rather than doing it over 2 years. And in fact, when I said you could be teaching in schools within a year, it's actually after the equivalent of 8 courses on your manuscript, which generally looks like you could be teaching in schools at the end of September, early October on the accelerated program. Thank you. Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks so much for that, Geraldine. We now have Dr. Helena Granciera, who is our Program Director for the Master of Teaching Primary. So I'll hand over to you, Helena.
Thank you very much, Cameron. And like Geraldine, I'm absolutely delighted to be introducing the Master of Teaching program that we have on offer at UNSW. And as a former primary school teacher, it is a pleasure to see the types of things that we're able to offer prospective candidates, because I truly believe that it's a program that not only embeds you with the appropriate pedagogical knowledge, but that also provides you with a really holistic approach to what it's actually like in schools. So if we can go to the next slide. So very similar structure to the MTeach secondary in that we do commence in term 1. Now, importantly, there are both part-time and full-time options available to students. So depending on your load, you'll either complete 2 or 4 courses per term. The beauty of the program is that we do offer you options in terms of the actual duration, and we understand that the accelerated nature of the course can present some challenges, particularly when we're balancing work and other commitments. So you can either complete it in 1.3 years, so 1 year and 1 term, or you can extend your prac out, so you complete it in 1.7 years, so 1 year and 2 terms. We're fully accredited from NESA, and that accreditation is transferable across Australian states. And many of our students do go overseas and use their accreditation to teach in schools in London. We have students who are in Dubai and all over the world. An Australian teaching qualification, and particularly a qualification in New South Wales, is considered to be one of the best options out there, because it's considered to be the most rigorous accreditation that you can possibly go through. And as with the MTeach secondary, we have this wonderful unification whereby current academics who are the leaders in their field meet with the current practicing teachers, so that we're able to provide you not only with leaders in academic experience, but also leaders in industry. And they're current practicing primary school teachers, so they can bring you up-to-date, everyday information about what's going on in schools and use that to really effectively frame the learning that you do in your pedagogy units. The one thing that I really love about, or actually there are many things that I love about this course, but one thing that I think is particularly impactful for students is that you're able to go out into schools in the first term. So within the first 5 weeks of your degree, you're out in schools making observations of what's going on and getting a real sense for what it's like to be a teacher at the coalface of the profession. So that's a particular strength of the study, a particular strength of the course, and one that you're able to do throughout the duration of your studies there. The other thing that I think is excellent is that we do enable you to teach casually, so to obtain accreditation after you've completed 48 units of credit. So that's after you have completed term 1 and term 2 and your first practicum. And I know that Natalia will give you some more information about that. But it's fantastic because it means that you can get out and you can teach casually in schools, so you can be earning money while you're gaining really invaluable industry experience. And that helps to inform the work that you do throughout the assessments, for instance, in term 3 and then in the next year. So there are many strengths and many reasons why I believe that we are at the forefront of providing pre-service teacher education, and particularly in the primary teaching sphere. And I'm delighted to see so many of you interested in embarking upon this exciting career. So I hope to answer some questions and maybe see some of you next year.
Thanks so much, Helena. All right, so we'll get on to our application processes and entry requirements with Natalia. take it away.
Thank you. Thanks, Cam. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be presenting this to you, as I know that the process for applying to the Master of Teaching can be quite overwhelming, especially due to these very specific requirements for subject content knowledge. As already mentioned, both Geraldine and Helena have said that these programs, our Master of Teaching programs, are accredited by the New South Wales Education Standards Authority. That's NESA for short. So our entry requirements are, thank you. Our entry requirements are based on the subject content knowledge requirements that are set by NESA. And so as our programs are accredited, the requirements are very specific. So what you need for a Master of Teaching secondary, the first requirement is that you need an undergraduate degree. The degree must meet the subject content knowledge requirements for 2 single teaching areas or 1 double teaching area. A first or double teaching area equates to a major. So for instance, an English major with at least 3 units in English literature is what would be required there. So major equals 6 units across levels, year levels 1 to 3. And for an additional teaching area, you'll need to have a minor, and that equates to 4 units, with no more than 2 at the first year level and at least 2 at, that should say 2 at second year, that's my fault. But what we can do is let you know if you have any questions, so reaching out to the School of Education and we can do a quick pre-assessment for you and let you know what you might be missing for entry. The minimum WAM, so weighted average mark, is 60, that's 60%. You also need to make sure that you write a 150-word personal statement that will include your reasons for wanting to be a teacher and why you feel that you would be best suited to be a teacher. So that's for Master of Teaching secondary. I'll move on to primary. Again, you do need an undergraduate degree. This time it needs to consist of 8 units of study across 1 or more key learning areas, with no more than 2 at first year and at least 2 at third year. The minimum WAM is 60%. There is also an additional requirement set by NESA, which is the minimum mathematics requirement. So all primary accredited teachers must have the equivalent of a Band 4 result in a HSC 2-unit mathematics course or equivalent. The equivalent is having completed a mathematics unit at university level, completing a bridging unit, or completing the bridging unit while you're enrolled in the Master of Teaching primary. So if you are missing that or don't meet that requirement, we can give you an offer with the condition that you complete a bridging unit in the first year of the Master of Teaching primary. And again, you need to have written a 150-word personal statement that includes your reasons for wanting to be a primary school teacher and why you would be best suited to it as well. So we'll move on to how to apply. So all domestic applications must go through UAC, that's the university's admission centre. You'll want to apply early for a lower application fee. So the applications are open now until the 31st of October for an $80 application fee. And then from the 1st of November to early January, there will be a $215 application fee. As I said, you can reach out and ask for a pre-assessment if you're worried that you may not meet the requirements. Do note that there may be a little bit of a probably like a 2-week wait potentially, depending on how many pre-assessments we get during this period. It can, and again, once you have submitted your application, it can take between 2 and 4 weeks to receive an outcome. It goes through an initial assessment with the university's admission centre, then it comes to the university's admissions, and then it will come to the school for a final decision on subject content knowledge. So it can take a few weeks. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Natalia. Alrighty, so I'll now hand over to Emily McKinney, our Program Director for the School of Education Riverina. So Emily, over to you.
Thanks, Cameron. Welcome, everyone. My background is in secondary education, so I too am really pleased that you're considering teaching as a profession. I think it's a wonderful profession and has served me really well. We're really excited to announce that from next year, for anyone who may be based in the Riverina or in this region or willing to move to this region, UNSW is establishing a School of Education in the Riverina. It's to support our local schools and particularly support those who are based in regional areas to be able to study a teaching degree and access a really high calibre university and the degrees that UNSW are offering. So we're offering in the Riverina both bachelor and master's program. So certainly for the masters, both primary and secondary teaching will be available. You would be joining the cohort that are studying in Sydney. So the delivery mode is via hybrid, but predominantly you're studying online with those students who are based in Sydney. You're just based in a different location. The distinguishing factor between the Riverina group is that you will have quite a lot of wraparound support. We expect it will be a small group of students who are studying in this region, but there will be local staff such as myself who are there to support you as a point of contact. But we also have direct contacts with local partner schools. In some cases, if you're interested in being employed as a paraprofessional teacher whilst you're studying, that will be an option in both primary and secondary schools. We will in this region also host unique face-to-face seminars, which are tailored specifically for our Riverina students. So we expect that you'll get to know your peers who are also studying the same course and really feel a connection to the university despite being based in a regional area. UNSW already have quite a presence in this region, predominantly through their School of Medicine with their clinical schools that they have established. So there's amazing facilities in Wagga Wagga, Albury and Griffith, and we'll be utilising some of those facilities. So in terms of eligibility, it's open to domestic applicants. You need to be based in the Riverina, so either already in the Riverina or planning on moving to this area. It's open, as I said, school leavers for those who are entering into undergrad, but in this case, certainly our master's students, so anyone who's eligible for the master's programs that have been discussed already. And certainly we've had a lot of interest from those career changers who are in regional areas and really looking for what options may be available if they're looking at pursuing teaching. Thanks, Cameron. Next slide. Finally, just if you have any questions, we are here to support interested applicants right from the point of application through to then receiving an offer, accepting an offer, and then we'll support you in terms of establishing a study plan and any other questions you may have around what this could look like for you. So we have a specific web page. Certainly you can just search for School of Education Riverina, but the web page is on the slides. We've also got an email address and a phone number, and you will get us who are based here in the Riverina if you contact us via those channels, and we're really happy to have a chat and answer any questions you may have. Thanks, Cameron.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Fantastic. So we will now move on to our current student and alumni panel. So I would now like to introduce you to our current student within the Master of Primary Teaching. So we have Aisha, who is currently 8 months into the program. And for the Master of Teaching Secondary, we have Megan, who completed her degree this year and is now putting that degree to use in her position as a high school teacher. So welcome both. To start off this session, I think it would be great if you could give us a short introduction to what you are studying, or in your case, Megan, what you studied in your degree and why you chose these degrees in the first place. So Megan, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, of course. So I studied the Masters of Secondary Teaching, specialising in science, so biology and chemistry. I'll take a bit of a step back with the story of how I got there. So straight after high school, I wasn't set on a particular career. All I knew was that I really enjoyed school and wanted to study at university, but I struggled to pinpoint a degree. So I decided to enroll in quite a broad degree. So I started in a double with music and science, with the intention of then deciding which one was a better fit for me and transferring to a single degree. So about a term in, I realised that science was more for me, and I continued on in that bachelor degree. But very quickly, I started thinking about teaching and science teaching in particular. And so I looked into postgraduate options and very quickly saw that UNSW had that option, and it was accelerated as well. But I still decided, of course, to finish my bachelor, as you need to do the master's. And that was really helpful for me in really assessing whether I did want to do teaching, and it gave me time to think about it, talk to current teachers and things like that. And I found that over time, my desire to pursue that just grew. I think for me, what it was having a year or so out of school, so not being a student anymore, and realizing, oh, I actually really loved learning and being in school. And I think also just reflecting on my own experiences. I generally gravitate toward teaching, and whether it be in an informal situation, such as like as a student in the classroom helping peers, or more formal situations, I just really enjoyed it and found it really fulfilling. And I think as well, just reflecting on my own teachers, I'm sure we always do that. The really great ones that made a massive impact, genuinely inspired me. And knowing that I could speak into the lives of kids every day was very appealing to me. So that's how I ended up in the Masters.
Amazing. Thanks, Megan. It sounds like you really found your passion, which is great to hear. Aisha, again, would you like to let us know a bit about how you got into your studies?
Yep, absolutely. So I started off with a Bachelor in Science as well, similar to Megan, but I specialized in psychology, and I graduated very recently last year, and I had a bit of time during the summer break to think about whether I wanted to continue pursuing psychology as a career. But I had, I guess, exposed myself to a part-time job that I still have, and that was tutoring. And I realized that I do love to teach and to learn with students at the same time. And with psychology as my background, I sort of made the connection that I could make a big difference in people's lives while still connecting with my bachelor's degree. So with primary school teaching, you learn a lot about how kids learn, how they think, how they behave, and all that developmental style really touched into what I had studied previously. So that's typically why I decided to go into the Masters of Teaching. And yeah, very similar to Megan, like I always thought about, the teachers that had the biggest impacts on me in primary school. And yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I love the passion, guys. So, keeping with that, there are a few questions that many of our prospective students ask regarding our Master of Teaching programs. And so I'm going to throw a few of these your way so that we can get your impressions and experience from your studies. So, Aisha, I might ask you the first question. Would you be able to talk about how you manage class schedules and times and learning modes, such as online and face-to-face teaching?
Yeah, so the degree is very fast-paced and accelerated, but it does give us the opportunity to, I guess, flexibly work through the course content. So each week we've got lectures and tutorials, but they can either be attended online or in person. And so for peers who are, out, in rural areas out of Sydney, or sort of, quite far away from uni, there's the option to join in on the classes and in those weekly contact hours online. For me personally, I came from psychology, which was heavily online for the most part because of COVID. So once I jumped into Masters of Teaching, I loved the face-to-face lectures and how many people actually attended them. So yeah, I think Also, the class times are very considerate with the type of people that this degree attracts. So a lot of my peers either have part-time jobs or other commitments such as families and kids. So the class times I feel are reflective of the people that join this course. So a lot of my tutorials have been towards the afternoon/evening, just to, I think, to meet some of the daily commitments that people have, such as school or, jobs and so forth. So it's been very flexible in that way.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much. Megan, the next question I'm going to pass over to you. So, placement is placement mandatory within the degree? How does it work? And sort of the things that come up the most with students is, do you have to reach out to the schools personally in getting your placements, or does the School of Education here at UNSW help you with that? And can you choose where you go, or like essentially, can you choose where you go, or does it get forced on you?
So firstly, yes, placement is mandatory. For the secondary course, you do 70 days in total in a school. As already alluded to, the first part of that is in term 1, and that's purely just sitting and observing and absorbing all you can, just being in a classroom. And so that's 1 day a week for 5 weeks for the secondary course. And so, yeah, it's wonderful that you get to do that straight away. The university will connect you with a school for that. And you get to put in some preferences such as location and things like that. So the uni does their best to try and place you within that as well. The second placement is a 4-week placement, and that's in term 2. And so whilst you're doing the 4-week placement, you don't have any other class. So you really can just devote all your time to, I guess, immersing yourself in as much of school life as you can. At this placement, you're really supported by a supervisor teacher or a mentor teacher, and you learn the ropes for the first few days, and then they support you to start teaching your own classes too, but they're always with you in the classroom. For that one, you can, if you already have an existing connection with a school, you can organise to do your placement with them alongside UNSW. So for me personally, I had a connection with a school. They were happy to have me, and so I let UNSW know. And then from there, UNSW and the school worked together to make that happen for me, which was wonderful. But you also, again, can just let the university place you somewhere as well. And you can opt in for particular preferences. They may or may not be met. But yeah, so that's the second one. And then the last one is what's called a placement/internship. And that's 9 weeks, 5 days a week. And that's kind of like the last requirement. So it's the very last term of study. The first 5 weeks of that are very similar to the 4-week placement, in that you've got a supervisor teacher in the classroom with you, supporting you. Once you, though, get that tick of approval, you then move into the internship phase, which is the last 4 weeks. And this is a slightly different version, because you're no longer in the classroom with a supervisor. You're treated as like the normal teacher. And so you get a really wonderful taste of what it's like to be a full-time teacher. So yeah, they're the 3 main placement opportunities. Just to summarize, if you have existing connections with schools, you can reach out to them and UNSW. Otherwise, the uni will do a great job of placing you. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. It's great to know that you have so many opportunities, or options, I should say, when you're looking for work in your placements. Aisha, the next one for you. How were you able to balance your studies with your other commitments, such as, say, work, family, things along those lines?
Yeah, so again, it's a very fast-paced degree that's accelerated, but I think what's helped me the most is the hybrid delivery mode. So, your lectures will either be pre-recorded or they'll be live in person, and that's, I think, helpful for students that need that weekly contact with their lecturers or course conveners and any questions that they have. And on top of that, I guess to manage the work-life/uni balance is that I'm able to work part-time and set aside time to myself alongside doing this degree, even though it's so fast-paced. So yeah, I've been able to take on full-time study and work as a tutor at the same time. And with the, I guess, flexible timing of the classes and the lectures, I can continue to work part-time without having to sacrifice, yeah, the commitments that I've already had prior to the degree.
Amazing. Thank you. Megan, so this question, we're actually going to take a very small step away from the degree, and it's essentially around, were you able to involve yourself in other university activities such as sport or social societies, things like that, while you were studying?
Yeah, good question. So compared to my undergraduate degree, I did intentionally decide to take a bit of a step back from official or formal societies, just because I knew that, again, this degree is intense and I knew what my capacity was. But something I was intentional with was continuing my involvement with the orchestra. So there's a UNSW orchestra, and we rehearse once a week and perform every time. And that was a great way to still maintain my connections with that society and continue my love for music, whilst also, I guess, connecting with students from mainly undergrad as well, and different degrees. So yeah, primarily it was just the UNSW orchestra, but I did find that informally, the Masters of Teaching cohort is very tight, and because you have the same subjects most terms, you see them repeatedly, which was quite different to my undergraduate degree. So we would often meet up for study sessions on campus or go get a coffee together and things like that. So I found that socially, I was never wanting. I had plenty to go around, which is great.
Great, fantastic. Aisha, so you're currently studying at the moment. What support is available to students who might be thinking about going into the Master of Teaching programs?
So within the program, within each program, you've got equitable learning support services, which I guess cater to people that need tailored assignments or tailored ways of learning and receiving content, whether that's online or face-to-face. You've also got the learning support and well-being team that's always stationed at UNSW and can be accessed, via online or on campus too. For me personally, the best support has been that close cohort. So we were able to make a really big group chat of all of us primary teaching students. And, if we ever had a question, it would always go towards the peers first. And then from there, you've got the support of the Moodle, where your lecturers and your course conveners can, help you out on any questions that you might have. But yeah, the support has been great. And like Megan said, it is a very close-knit community because you see these people in every term and possibly even in your placements too. So you create those really good relationships and I guess future colleagues as teachers too. Yeah.
Yeah, great. We are about to move into the panelist Q&A, but just quickly, a final question for you, Megan, which is very quickly, post-graduating, how did you find the work that you are currently in now?
Yeah, so I was in quite a fortunate position with my 9-week placement. I actually secured a job with them. And so what that meant was the 9 weeks worth of relationships I invested with students and teachers just continued on full time. So yeah, I managed to get that permanent position straight away, and it's been great. I do know that the Department of Education also emails regularly with job opportunities that open up, and they match that with your preferences that you've submitted. So you can fill out a form and then they let you know as well. But fortunately, I haven't needed to pursue that just because I found a great school community that I'd already invested in through my placement.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, both of you. Obviously, we might have a few questions that come your way through the chat. And so I am just going to run through them now. Just a reminder to everyone, if you do have questions, please post them in the chat. And if you see a question that you would really like answered as well from another panelist or from another attendee, sorry, give that one a thumbs up. It helps us to know which ones are the really popular ones and we can get those answered quickly. So one of the questions we have here, Natalia, this one might be for you, but please feel free to jump in if it is for someone else. Does it really matter where you complete your teaching degree, or is NISA accreditation the most important measure of quality?
Yeah, thank you. I can definitely answer that. So essentially all initial teacher education degrees in New South Wales are accredited by NESA. So all the entry requirements are the same. In terms of where you go, what we do hear a lot from our partner schools is where even our work integrated learning team, they're receiving a lot of gratitude from schools and stating that a lot of their current teachers are from UNSW. So that's really cool. That's just factual. But ultimately, wherever you do a degree, if it's an initial teacher education degree accredited by NESA, you're going to be able to teach New South Wales, in Australia, interstate, globally. It doesn't really end there, but yeah, we do have a lot of grateful partners, partner schools around. So yeah, that's something that we hear a lot about UNSW students.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, Natalia. Yep, that answered it perfectly. So this one, Helena, I might see if you would like to answer this one, but as I said, everyone else can feel free to jump in if you feel like it is something you know. I'm working a full-time job. Do you think I'd be able to balance that work with full-time study in the Masters of Teaching program?
This is a very, very common question that we get. And unfortunately, balancing out the requirements of a full-time position alongside a full-time candidature as part of the MTeach isn't possible, just because we have classes during the day, even though they are scheduled. We do try to offer online and hybrid versions. We do have classes that are scheduled, for instance, say from 11 to 1 on certain days. So we do find if you are working a full-time position, we generally recommend going part-time because there is a lot more flexibility around managing classes in that sense.
Yeah, fantastic. Megan, one for you. Someone would like to know how you managed to join the UNSW Orchestra. So this would be essentially how did you manage to join a society here at UNSW?
Yeah, so I joined the orchestra in my first year of uni. Essentially, I emailed the Orchestra Society. So if you just type up UNSW Orchestra, you'll be able to find the email there. For the orchestra, you do need to do an audition, and then they let you know based on that. In terms of other societies, though, there's a massive list, over 300. If you go to our student body, so ARC, A-R-C, there's a massive list online. And I'm assuming that each one, again, you can just reach out through a particular email address and they'll give you instructions from there. But yeah, there's over 300, so definitely have a look at them all.
Yeah, so there is, from my knowledge as well, there is a lot of options out there if you wanted to get involved in societies. So yeah, just jump on and have a look. You'll definitely find something for you.
Sorry, I will just add as well, like go to Open Day or O Week. So all the societies, or most of them, have a physical presence there as well. So you can just chat face to face with someone as well.
They do indeed. Yep.
Yeah, so I would encourage.
It's a good way to find out about it. That's right. Yep. Natalia, this one for you based on pre-assessment. So how and where would students be, or prospective students be able to get their bachelor's degree pre-assessed to determine whether it meets the requirements for the primary or secondary program?
Yeah, no worries. I know that it's quite stressful if you're not sure that you meet the requirements. What we'd really like for you to do is to try and first self-assess your subject content knowledge using the information pack. Usually we're looking for 6 courses in a particular area. If it's mathematics, it'll be an MATH badged course. that has helped a lot of prospective students in the past. If you are struggling and you're really unsure if you meet the requirements and would like to know what you're missing, you can email us at the School of Education, and I've popped the email address in there in a reply comment. It's education@unsw.edu.au. However, we try to get back to you as soon as possible, but there may be a slight delay depending on the volume of pre-assessment requests we get. But we're happy to help. Yeah.
Fantastic. We have another couple of questions. They're all absolutely fantastic. I think, Natalia, this one might even be for you again, or Helena, feel free to jump in if this is more your area as well. Is it possible to complete placements internationally? And further, can you get credit from previous classroom work experience?
So students can complete placements in other states in Australia and sometimes overseas. There is part of a policy that states that can occur. I would suggest that if you're not going to be in the country, that you discuss that with the work integrated learning team. They manage your professional experience and can tell you what's possible and what's not possible. Was there another part to that question?
Whether or not credit could be used from teaching experiences previously.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so usually we would need to see some sort of like completion of a placement course in a previous degree. Usually, or you could complete your observation placement there, but you do need to do your placements in at least 2 different schools throughout your degree as well. Helena, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just that oftentimes students ask us if they have been working as an SLSO, for instance, if they can credit that experience towards the NESA experience. And unfortunately, we can't. And that's because we do have the NESA requirements, which state that a certain number of days must be completed across the different schools.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you both. That was great. A bit more of a difficult one in terms of the placements. How far back are students able to push their placements in terms of working part-time, full-time? Can they do them sort of more towards the beginning of the degree, or can they push them back towards the end of their degree? How does it work?
That's tricky. So something to note is that our programs are structured very carefully, taking prerequisites into consideration. So there are a lot of prerequisites and term offerings that mean it's not so easy to move some courses around. However, we can work with you on a revised enrolment plan. If you are doing part-time and you don't want to start with your INSTEP, you can actually move that course to the next year, but we will need to move the structure around and create you a revised enrolment plan. Yeah, if you do want to do placements in different years, then we really need to look at the reasons and when it's possible for you to do it as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Helena, would you please be able to elaborate a tiny bit more on the delivery mode? Looks like a lot of people are very interested in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the MTeach primary program, we are very flexible in that we offer both online and live options for most courses. Now, the caveat to that is that if you are attending online, oftentimes you have to attend in real time. So it may be, for instance, the tutorial in the afternoon is from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. And while it's online, you still have to attend in real time. So there are various options available in terms of attendance modes, but because of the strict requirements of the course completion, we do have to make sure that we do attend during that period. Also because we find that otherwise students do tend to get quite behind, because there is a lot of content that we try to mix in. So for instance, on a Monday, we'll often have one of our core lectures. That lecture will be live and also delivered online simultaneously. And then after that, we may have a tutorial, and that may be offered online, and students will attend online, and there may also be a face-to-face option. There are sometimes, if there are smaller classes, we have a hybrid option where we have both online students and in-person students attending together. And our instructors are really well trained with how to create really positive learning environments that integrate both modes of delivery.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Just conscious of time, we'll do one final question. I believe, Megan, you have already talked about this one, but could you just reiterate for us? A prospective student here already works at a school and was wondering whether they would be able to complete their work in place learning through them.
Yeah, so as long as you haven't done your 4-week placement with them and they're happy to have you, then that should be fine. For me, I wasn't previously working at the school that I ended up getting the job with. So I still did my placement with them and had that support from a supervisor. However, I was also considered an employee. So it was a bit of a hybrid version, but I did have that 9-week period where I did get more support and still completed the UNSW placement course. There is a possibility if you've already been working there as a conditionally accredited teacher to complete a waiver, which means you don't need to complete the full placement requirements that the normal 9-week one would require you. However, if you think that may apply to you, I would just look into the waiver. It's called Waiver B for teaching, and then you should be able to do your placement or not with them. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. That one does wrap up our Master of Teaching Information evening. If any questions come up after this point or any that haven't been answered, please feel free to use our contact page here to get in touch with us and let us know your questions. We're always happy to answer them. I would like to extend my thanks to everyone who joined us here this evening. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and please do submit any questions that you do have. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you have a great night.